full disclosure, I own a Sonos Arc and a Sub.
Yep.
And it's literally my primary bedroom system.
Yep.
Used to have a pair of Bowers and Wilkins speakers with a Bowers center channel and some wireless rear kits with a wireless rear speaker kit that I used. And while my wife loves technology, she works in the tech field too. It got to a point where it was like, is this really what we need in here aesthetically?
Yep.
And really, she would have let me keep it because she's awesome. But at the end of the day, we needed to take away those and put them in a different space. We needed the space in our bedroom. So it's the Sonos Arc is, I'm going to say, one of the best soundbars out there.
Yep.
Period. I mean, not dissing the Sennheisers and the Bowers and Wilkins and all that, but again, for the functionality, it's hard to beat.
Yeah, and let's, they have kind of 3 different levels of soundbars that are really fantastic. And so you mentioned the Arc, which is kind of their flagship, and that's their top line. Then you've got a mid-tier, which is called the Beam, and then they just released the Sonos Ray, which is a little bit of a step down from that. And the thing I like about it, I mean, you say best, and, that needs, I think, to be qualified, because I don't disagree with you, right?
Yep.
The question is... and I'm going to use a Top Gear reference. If you're not familiar, it's this UK show, car review show. And those guys talked about the worst car ever made being some really fancy Lexus. And the reason is it wasn't fast and it wasn't sporty and it wasn't this and it wasn't that. And even though it cost a lot of money and all these other things, and they went on and on and on, because the point was that they missed the mark. That's actually what the issue was, right? And and I think when you talk about what makes a good soundbar, well, what is a soundbar? It's easy. That's the whole point. It's simple. I plug it in, I connect it, I walk away, kind of a thing. And in that sense, even though there are probably some soundbars that could maybe have better frequency response, or maybe a better this or a better, I get that. But as an all around, when you really think about, well, what was the point? Well, simplicity, ease of use. I just want to plug it in and know that it's going to work. I don't know of another soundbar that I could put in my grandma's house and not expect to get phone calls.
Yep.
Even including some of the TV manufactured soundbars. It's kind of amazing, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I had, prior to moving into our house, in our last apartment, I had a Samsung TV, or Samsung. Yeah, it was a Samsung TV, plasma.
Yep.
In our bedroom, and it had played musical TVs. That's how it got there. And I'm like, hey, I need a better sound solution. And it was, Black Friday. I'll buy this Samsung 500 series soundbar with the wireless rear speakers because I've got to go all out, right? And even with Arc, then, I mean, this is probably 4 or 5. Oh gosh, I've been in this house 5 years. 6 or 7 years ago, it was magic. Is what we used. We used to sell Arc, the ARC connection, which is how these connect, as magic, because it works sometimes, and then there are other times it's just like doesn't work at all. You don't know what's going on. Plug it back in, you do whatever, and then you just give up. The next day it works. Everything's perfect again. Yep. They've really perfected that technology. I'm not saying you should live by it, but Sonos especially rarely have any issues. It's usually the television that's causing the issues because it's an older TV.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm glad you called out ARC, because audio return channel, HDMI port, also known, or you'll see, I shouldn't say also known, eARC as well. And just for the common person listening that is not familiar with that technology, it allows the TV, when you turn it on, to send a power on command to the soundbar, okay? And in this case, where we're going next, the Sonos Amp. And so they have one of those connections as well. So you talk about, what does that mean? Well, it means that I don't have to have another remote when I buy this soundbar. It means I don't have to turn it on and adjust the volume with some secondary remote. I don't have to switch inputs. I don't have to worry about what connection is plugged into what. Okay, it's literally plug the HDMI into my television on the ARC port, make sure I do the same thing on the soundbar, and then that's it. It's set up to automatically talk to each other. And to your point, again, going back to the TV soundbars, if I have a Sony soundbar and I have a Samsung television, the odds of them playing nicely together is actually very low, right? If I have a receiver, for example, and a television, and I use the ARC, sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of hit or miss as an overall technology. But what Sonos has done is they did their due diligence to make sure that no matter what you buy, you plug it in and it's going to work.
Yep.
So I don't know what I wish that, honestly, whatever Sonos does, I wish they would tell the other manufacturers, because it's amazing to me that they can do it, but nobody else seems to know how to do it.
Yep.
So
It blows my mind, man. I mean, there would be so many systems that I've designed back in the day, and you'd just be like, well, I can't run an optical, because we'd always run an optical, right? Like, run an optical cable because, it's a backup. But there would be those jobs you get out there and you can't do it, and you're going to have to rely on ARC for some reason.
Yep.
And it was just, you were praying, oh, please, work. Or you were selling them an Apple TV or some other device to, circumvent the streaming features of the TV that they had to keep,
Yep. Trying to find some other way to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or you do a traditional control system, right? You do a Savant or a Control 4 or something along those lines. And obviously, there's, if there's no budget restriction, then yeah, we could do that for everybody. But the truth is that when there is a budget restriction, that sometimes can be, pricing folks out. So all of a sudden, ARC becomes your next go-to. And I think that was a really good, it's a really good solution. It's not perfect, like we've said, but I think more and more manufacturers are going to continue to go that direction. And my only concern, and I know I'm getting on a little bit of a tangent, but my only concern with that is I don't know that keeping those things automatic is really a good idea, in the sense that there's no way to adjust any other settings. So when you run into an issue, your options are unplug it, plug it back in, hope and pray, right? Turn the commands on and off, right? And that's about it. Like, you can't go in and say, hey, we need to turn off this, we need to turn this on, we need another power command, or we need a delay, or we need none of that stuff exists. And so I still think there's a large market of projects where you're going to go to a control system, even for just basic remote control functionality, because if ARC doesn't automatically do its thing, you have to have some sort of a way to solve for that. But I think as more and more manufacturers, if they can do it right, if it's well executed, I have no issue with it. So,
agreed.
Yeah.